I'm trying some things moving forward as we grow this thing and deciding what direction. I've been watching other people set up some podcasts and what have you, what have you, what have you. And more power to everybody. I don't um, want to be the only voice because I feel like if Jesus was the Messiah and he couldn't bring everybody to the fold, certainly I'm not naive enough to think that I could do it all by myself. So with that being said, I'm gonna say good evening, welcome. What up? What up? What up? Um, I said I had to watch the simply because I know better than public speaking and public administration. But sometimes it's a natural response while one is thinking and moving from one thought to another. A transitional two seems to be okay by me. So I want to say, what's up? Where you at? 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 Girl, you're looking sweet on now. Getting finer every day, yeah. I wish that I could love you right. Yes, I do, girl. In a special way. You light my fire. I'm so alive with you, baby girl, yeah. You blow my mind. I am satisfied. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, outstanding. That's what you are. Shabby dubby 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 shabby dubby do that down. Yeah. So I was watching some things on TV, and it always amazes me how we can't have everybody good now on light. We have to talk about this one being better than that one, and so forth and so on. And what happens is it starts this little. Usually the debate is cool, you know. I think the debate for showing people love is cool. It's just that we have a tendency to get carried away with being right. Ain't nothing shaking but leaves and trees, big booties in the breeze. You know what I'm saying? When I see them swaying in the wind with a sundress on, it does something to a black man. So I want to say good evening. How y'all doing? Forget about me. I mean, I'm here. I got my little sippages. I got my stuff. I got my stuff set up. So I'm kind of ready. I'm kind of ready. Gee, I feel so lucky, girl, to have you all along. Yeah. Charlie said, um, girl, you knocked me out. When I think about the fact that you guys here for me week in, week out, it kind of blows my mind. So I really am satisfied to be doing the show. And sometimes I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I get to the point where um, I feel like what I'm trying to do is falling on deaf ears. When I ask some of you ladies to tell me about not only the man in your life, but what you're looking for in a man, I do it for a specific reason. If you notice, and I'm gonna say this because I've said it before and I say it again. I'll be your huckleberry. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. A lot of brothers are afraid to speak out. I keep hearing from men that you can't win an argument with a woman. I'm not trying to argue. I'm debating. And if you feel differently than I do, then so be it. That's cool. That's fine and dandy. So with that being said, I see some of my people on Facebook a little late getting here, but anyway, I'm gonna get cracking. If you're on the other side, if you're on the YouTube side, um, drop in on my Facebook side just to make sure that everything's copacetic. I really love the way you love me, girl. Forever I'll be yours. You blow my mind. I'm satisfied with you, baby girl. Yeah, you light my fire. I'm satisfied. Yeah, outstanding is what you is. Shabby dubby dubby shabby dubby dubby shabby dubby. Scooby dooby 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 doo. People that hear me talking about certain things, they say, "Man, why don't you just sing when you sing?" And it's because it's for me, it's just a warm up to the show, waiting for people to come in, take their seats, and do what they do. I didn't advertise my show on Facebook. I gave you a question of the day, and you know what that means. That's some of what I'm gonna be talking about tonight. Um, I'm really trying to transition the show to YouTube, but with so many things happening in one area or another, I like being able to broadcast on different platforms simultaneously. I've been trying and trying and trying and trying and trying to stay away from some of what's happening politically, but to be honest with you, you can't just ignore it because we're we're closing in on 2024, another presidential election, and you know all that's going on just can't be ignored. We got to be a part of the solution. Being a part of the solution is being part of the planning on the front end. So, with that being said, I'm gonna say this one's for you. I'm gonna take a little sip. It. Mm, man, there's something about bourbon. I think it's the nectar of the gods. And they say wine was in Bacchus in Greek mythology. You know what I'm saying? But I think there's something about that bourbon whiskey. Oh my goodness gracious. Um, I really don't drink a lot. I usually drink for my show, and every now and then, if I go out, I might have like a margarita with my food. I used to do bourbons, and what kind of got me into it when I was working as a director and then as a executive director, CEO of a couple county health centers. When I would go out with other directors and guys from GE and what have you, some of the things we would talk about would be um, what was happening in the world, what was happening in the world of radiology, what was happening in medicine, and where we kind of saw things going moving forward. And it's ironic that I hear from some of the people that used to work for me, and I never say it worked for me because I don't own people. What I tried to do is develop people's talents so that they could excel doing what they like to do. What's going on? I see a couple people up there, but I'm not registering numbers. So again, I don't know what's really happening with this whole Facebook thing. With that being said, let me bounce back. Before I do anything, it's about 11 past the half, so I'm gonna go ahead and say I was waiting on some people, but it's time to go ahead and get this thing moving and they can catch up. I want to say good evening and welcome to the show. My name is Hank Batiste. The name of the show is Omit da Logic. We take current events in life happening, what's happening in our lives on a day-to-day basis. We try to break them down and make them make sense. I'm your host tonight, and the voices in my head are they're somewhat perplexed. I've been trying to make the month of June about men, and when I say brothers, I mean primarily black men because I think we're still the endangered species. When I say brothers, I think it's something that we can all contend with. Not to exclude the white man, but the white man has always put himself in power, so he's always been somewhat immune to these things. He's had the luxury of making his transgressions legal. And I was going to say trigressions, but I won't make up a Jesse word. He, being in control, him with the goal makes the rules. Being in control when he does something, and I'm talking specifically about white Anglo-Saxons, those that are in power, because poor white men have the same problem that poor black men have. When they do something, and what brought this to mind was all of the cases that we see going on with Donald Trump. Every time we turn around, Donald Trump is being investigated for doing this, for doing that, for leaving the shoes untied, for classified documents, for the women that he messed over, for paying people off for campaign money, and the list goes on and on and on. And every time there's a new investigation, every time there's something that pops up on the radar, I get a deluge of questions. Do you think he's going to be indicted? Then they said, do you think he's going to be arrested and jailed? I say indicted, yes. Arrested, yes. Arrest comes before indictment and so forth and so on. They may even, arraign a grand jury and go through all of the motions. I think all of these, I want to say all of these different areas, be it a municipal court, a state court, or a federal court, and these investigators and prosecutors, what they're doing is trying to get a test of what's happening with the, I call blowback. Anytime there's something with someone who had this much power, and this is the reason why I say I can't ignore what's happening politically. Anytime someone becomes this powerful, then they have their minions, their disciples who are willing, as we saw on January 6th, to overthrow the government. Um, so, with that being said, that's where we are. I apologize to you folks on Facebook. I had some people just are persistent, and I think some people do it on purpose to want to kind of buzz in during this time of day when you know I'm doing what I'm doing. The thing that's been holding up this whole judicial process is the anticipated blowback. If in fact he's convicted and they try to jail him. By putting things off, on one hand, they figured that his popularity and his disciples would start to diminish. The number of his disciples would start to diminish, and they would find somebody else to follow. On the other hand, by doing so, as we get closer to giving him a platform and running for office again, we just exacerbate the situation and we increase his popularity. So it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, a 50-50 compromise. Um, Facebook is good. Thank you, babe. I appreciate that. Hello, ma'am. Hey, Panky. Giving my little shout out there. What's going on, Miss KD? Miss Robinson? Hello, Mrs. Robinson. Miss Robinson, are you trying to seduce me? One of my favorite movies, The Graduate. Um, before I go any further, I want to say this. I have two things on mind. Number one is no matter how much resistance, no matter how little participation I get, I am going to be talking about men because I feel, like I said, I've been a dad for some 46, 47 years or whatever the case may be. And I don't know how old my son is. Let me do the math. Chris was born in 77, 7 from, so he'll be, 40, 46 this year. So for some 45 years, I've been a dad. Um, and I've had the unique, though not uncommon, mishap, pleasure, whatever you want to call it, to have to be what I call either an absentee dad or remote control dad, simply because um, things happen when we're young. We do things and we don't think about the blowback. We don't think about the repercussions of starting a family with someone that we're not necessarily married to. And we have a lot of moms out there, a lot of women out there who are single mothers. So you know what I'm talking about from a different perspective, from the woman's perspective. I can talk about what happened on the woman's perspective because my dad died. My parents divorced when I was young. My dad died when I was short of my 16th birthday. So I was primarily raised during my formative years by both parents, but my dad was not always in our household, but he was very welcome in that household, which was really cool. Um, Mr. Perkins, I probably need to talk to you. I have Perkins in my family tree, so I want to do that. I have all of these things going through my head. I've been wanting to find out more about what my parents had to go through, what my grandparents had to go through, simply because a man that does not know his history is doomed to relive it. So again, I'm gonna just say this one more time. Welcome to my show. My name is Hank Batiste. This is Omit da Logic. We take current events and things that are happening in everyone's lives and we try to make sense of it. Tonight, we're going to be talking about two things. I keep talking about this man thing, and I'm saying it again on purpose. This is June. In month, we celebrate women wholeheartedly. I got too many brothers who are afraid to speak up because they felt like they're going to be talked down to, they're going to be dismissed. And I said, if I presented an opportunity for women to show love to men, the men specifically that were in their lives that they're fond of, and to those who don't have a specific man in their life, what do you look for? What's your dream guy and what's your realistic man? And what are you doing to make that happen? So I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna talk about it. I posed a question today and I did get some responses. But I'm gonna let that question ride, and I'm gonna post it every other day and give everybody a chance to respond. Because to be fair to you, I know how the algorithms in Facebook work, and some of you don't get things until it you know 6 or 7 people respond to it, unless you follow me on a daily basis. So those that follow me on a daily basis, the next time I post that question, I'm gonna start tagging people. So I'm not picking on you. I just need your input. We celebrate women. We celebrate moms specifically in the month of May. And I'm with that because women, moms, mothers are our primary teachers. They are instrumental in our early development. But I think as a man, when I get to a certain age, and I'll call it not prepubescent, but I'll call it in the heat of girls, as the old people say, you start smelling yourself and you start thinking you know something, and it's not till years pass that you realize you didn't know it. So men are instrumental, like it or not. I grow tired of women who said, I'm the mama and the dad, so I'm celebrating Father's Day too. I think it's extremely selfish. I said what I said, I mean what I said, and I'm not backing down. I'll be your huckleberry. The thing about this, I have a microphone. So if you feel like you want to talk down, if if you want to discuss something with me on a positive vibe, we can do that because I don't agree. I don't expect you to agree with everything I say, but I think in order to get the men to participate, women have to respect that men have voices too. Women have to respect that men have feelings too. Women have to respect the fact that a lot of these guys are going through things and they feel powerless. And the only way that they can deal with this sometimes is about shutting down. So when women start to talk, men stop talking. The difference is men stop talking and they use selective hearing. When women stop talking, they're checking out. And I think men have a tendency to do the same thing. But before a man walks out, he starts to emotionally distance himself. So this is the month of June. We are going to celebrate men. We're going to celebrate black men in particular. We're going to celebrate dads. And I mean those with an XY chromosome. A, because it is the hardest, most thankless job that I've ever had, but it's also the most rewarding. With all of the things I had to deal with, I was subjected to with all of those adversities. I wouldn't trade that for the world. Watching my kid and having a hand and watching my children go from being these little embryonic creatures to being full fledged productive adults. So that's where I am. And I think it's time for us to start realizing that this is what's going to make us whole as a community, make us whole as a culture. Ironically, what we do as people of color and specifically black people, when we do something, it becomes not only fashionable, but it becomes something that others copy. We set the standards, be it in jazz, hip hop, or literature, so forth and so on. So it is what it is. So it's time for brothers to step up and make your voices heard. Don't be afraid of being talked down. As long as I have a mic, as long as I'm at the helm, you're gonna have a equal voice. To the women, simply because you want to speak up and you're afraid of being, what other women are gonna say. If you have a good man in your life, celebrate that man. Show that man publicly. PDA, public display of affection. Show the world of what a positive black relationship looks like because we don't get enough of it. When I think about this, I'm reminded of this silly weight loss commercial. And I won't call it out because I'm not going to promote someone that doesn't sponsor me. But there's this black couple on there. And I guess um, the guy is the older black guy with a gray beard, and his wife has the ringlets, and he said he had to lose weight because his biggest fear was dying early and leaving his wife, and he called her by name, Sheila, by herself. And he, in the midst of telling his story of it or his motivation for losing weight, he starts to tear up. And she supports him. She said, "That's all right, babe. We're doing this together." And it always touched me because I said, in this day, in this time, in 2023, that's the kind of woman I need in my life. That's the kind of relationship that I want. Some people that honestly And I know they have their ups and downs, but they honestly, and you can see the sincerity because it's not scripted. So I know a lot of brothers who are amazing dads. 3 weeks ago, I did a show, whether it was a plethora of deadbeat dads or whether there were a lot of what I call bitter moms, baby mamas. And I think because you have, and I hate to think of kids as possession, but because you have the child living in you, you possess the power to tell this child things about the father. I was blessed in that my mom never had an ill word to say about my dad. She would tease me and she said, "Boy, you just like your pa." And consequently, my dad would say, "Boy, you just like your mom or your mom." And it was always in joking. And as a child, I I would think in my adolescent mind, I say, if they get along that well, then why aren't they together? If it's obvious that they still love each other, then why can't we be together as a family? And it wasn't until I got older and I started to find out that when you love someone, they become a central part of your life. And when the relationship or if the relationships breaks down, you don't fall out of love with that person. You just learn how to deal with them no longer being in the nucleus of your life. So you have to learn how to move on and deal with that. But you don't do it by tearing that person down because that's not the way I was raised. And then one thing that my mom always said to me is, son, not everybody was raised like you. So you have to understand that. You have to understand that not everybody was raised like you. We call it morals. You know, I was flabbergasted when they gave us the Cosby Show on TV, and so many black people jealously said, "Well, that's not real black life." Well, neither was Leave It to Beaver, but we watched that for years. Not only when it was on, but in syndication. And whether you're Leave It to Beaver still comes on TV, the Brady Bunch, so forth and so on. So we were subconsciously programmed on what a blended family should look like, even though that's not what our experiences were. But we were given an ideal situation of what it could be. So I said all of that to say this. This, for the third time, is the month of June. We are going to celebrate dads. I posed a question, and brothers, I want y'all to step up. I don't want you to be afraid. Even if you want to remain anonymous and you don't want to go with the back and forth, inbox me. Ladies, I'm going to say this one more again. Too many of the men feel like when they talk, then women use this weapon called their mouth to break them down systematically. A discussion turns into an argument. And I provoked the women last week by saying, "Shut the fuck up." And I know when I said that, that it would trigger a lot of women and I would get these gut responses. And true to light, that's exactly what I got. And then I followed it up with, "Now that I have your attention." So this is what we are. This is the weekend before Father's Day. We're going to try with every fiber of our being to celebrate the brothers, black man specifically, but all men, because being a dad is the most rewarding job, but it is the hardest job, especially if you have children that exist outside of your everyday household, and you don't have a voice in what they eat, where they go to school, so forth and so on. You want your child to study music, and the mom doesn't do that. They don't think it's important how I'm going to get them there, and so forth and so on. And I saw the same things happening today with my son and his family. And I'm saying, at what point do we get beyond this? How do we get beyond this? So I decided it was something that I was going to take up. The other thing is, from a political perspective, and I'm going to start with this. I'm going to start my story with this. We're getting inundated with all of these Republican candidates: Chris Christie, Mike Pence, Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump, just to name the top four. I said to you back in January of 2021, the only reason that Mike Pence did what he did is because he was tired of playing second fiddle to Donald Trump. And he's a political, I don't want to use the term, I'm not going to use the term that I want to use. I'm not even going to say it, but he's a seasoned politician. So he knew that he could do this by saving the Constitution and the transfer of power, that he would come from under Trump's skirt and he could promote himself as a better alternative to someone who would take the Oval Office by any means necessary. I'm going to tell you this. I've been trying. I made you a promise that back in December, and I've been trying to stay away from the political quagmire. I've been in and following politics since I was 16. I've got a master's in public policy, spent 12 years in DC, public policy and public administration, and I was blessed in being able to see some of these guys and see behind what I call the curtain, beyond the smoke and mirrors, and see how some of these strategies start to play out. So I recognize them. It's like playing football. When I see three wide receivers on this side, I automatically think triplet. I know probably going to run a post, somebody's going to do a crossing pattern, and somebody's going to throw in what I call a legal bump. So I know what's going to happen. I recognize it, and it's the same thing with politics, because these same things that they are doing, we've seen done before. Pence is probably the biggest threat. On the flip side of that, all we have is Joe Biden. Now, I was one of the first to say, run, Joe, run. Back in January of 2017, after the inauguration, and this guy called Donald J., when he presented himself, I said that this was not going to end well. And I said that the only person that could take him down, the only person that had the mass appeal between the Republicans, the moderates, the centrists, and all of these other warring factions was Joe Biden. But when I said it, I said he should only be a one-term president, because the one opponent that you can never beat is Father Time. And as much as I like Biden, there are two Bidens. There's the Biden that was the watchdog and the attack dog, the junkyard dog for Barack Obama. And then there's that other Joe Biden, that one who wants to go along to get along. We need to have some alternatives. We need to become familiar with some alternatives on the Democratic side. I keep telling you this. I don't care who's who. I find it hard to align myself with Republicans' policies on a day to day basis, but I don't openly or just drink the Democratic Kool Aid. This is why I was on Nancy Pelosi's behind. This is why I'm on Chuck Schumer's behind. And this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. As unpopular as it is to most, I'm not the only one thinking this way. So we need to start saying it more in public. We need to say it more out loud so that others that are qualified will have the cojones to step up and say, we need to have an alternative. Because if this is the only person that we have, and God forbid, somewhere in between um, the Democratic National Convention and the election, something happens to Joe Biden, what's our plan B? So, this is what I think about. So, we need to have this in your little circles, start to talk about it, in your little communities, in your little municipalities, in your state, start to talk about it and make it happen. I'm looking at my camera. I got a camera that's supposed to follow me, and sometimes it does what it wants to do. So YouTube folk, yeah, I know y'all tripping. I'm tripping off it too when I see it in my monitor and I see some of the things that it's doing. So Biden, be man enough to say, let me put my ego aside and pass the Oval Office to someone who can do the job. The problem with politics is we're talking about these super duper egos who are like the Michael Jordans who never want to retire. The last thing that I want to see is Biden win another presidential election, and God forbid Nancy Pelosi become the Speaker of the House again because he feels endeared to her, or he feels like he owes her something, or she convinces him that experience is the key to getting things done. No, mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. So I promise you, I'm gonna say what I say. The good thing about being a renegade, the good thing about being a one man show, I don't have to answer to nobody. The first thing I look at is my people on YouTube and see if I've been cut off. The second thing I look at is my people on Facebook and see if y'all can still hear me. Can you hear the words that's coming out of my mouth? It is what it is. We need viable options because the our opponents and mm, it would scare the bejesus out of me if Trump became president again. But I would have nightmares beyond nightmares if Pence became president because he understands how government works. And what I look at, what he did to the state of Indiana is its governor, it frightens the hell out of me what he could do as president, given the blueprint that Donald J has given him. When he understands that all of those hate mongers need somebody to look up to, all of those so called, I won't call them nationalists, I'm going to call them domestic terrorists. Those same people that have that same mentality that if they can't win legally, if they can't win fairly, they're going to win by any means necessary. So that's all I got to say about that. Let's have a viable plan B. Let's start talking about it now. So those people that are most qualified can step up. Are you seeing a parallel between that my men? Those people that are qualified are afraid to speak out. Those men that are outstanding fathers, they're afraid to showboat and talk about what they've done. You understand? So it is what it is. That's all I got to say about the politics side. I'm gonna say it one more time. Some of these ladies have done an amazing job. I have girlfriends that talk to me from the time that they started dating the guy that they're with till after they got married. And I'm not gonna call out her name. She's not on here, so I'm not gonna call her out. But she went through what I call this evolution. And I'm no different. When I think about who I am, what I think about what some of the women bring to the table, it makes me want to be the best version of myself that I can be. But by the same token, I'm not just going to give me to just anybody. And the brothers out there feel the same way I feel. All of this dating for a purpose, if a man feels that you're marriage material, you're not going to have to twist his arm. He's going to step up and he's going to say, babe, look, let's make this right. Let's be an example for our children. Let's be an example for other young people. And he's going to do what he needs to do. And I'll say this as well. It doesn't take a piece of paper because a piece of paper doesn't make a marriage. If you're committed to somebody, it's obvious. It's obvious in your walk, it's obvious in your talk. So, ladies, show me your commitment. Speak up. Right there, I'm going to leave it right there. If you're just tuning in, hmm, I've been talking for about 40 minutes. Usually by now, I have all of this feedback. And I'm looking at some of my people on YouTube, and lady says, I give honor to all the fathers for being in their situation and being in their children's lives. And it's not an easy thing to do. Unfortunately, what we do, not just men, women too, not just women, men too, use the children like pawns, like weapons to get back at the person that hurt them. Moving forward this week, look for that question. Do me a favor. Give me feedback. If you don't want to do it online, if you don't want to do it on my post, if you don't want to do it on Facebook, hit me up, inbox. Send me a message. Tell me what you feel, and I will incorporate it. I'm gonna try my best moving forward into this the show next week. It's gonna be the show preceding Father's Day. We're gonna celebrate men, and I'm gonna do so by bringing. I'm gonna try to bring these brothers up. I'm looking at 3 or 4 brothers that have a tendency to be here week in, week out. I'm saying it to you now, bruh, bruh. I need you to step up. I need you to show up and show out. I'm saying it to another brother I know who's a bison and he dropped by. And I know a little bit about this brother, but I know more about him than he think I do. But I want these people to step up because I'm one voice, a lone voice in the wilderness. So that's all I got for you tonight, people. My brothers, let's show up and show out. My ladies, when it comes to who you are with, if you love that man, let's see some public displays of that love. Let's talk about how he positively affected your life. My dad taught me you don't take the cow if you can't accept the calf. So let's talk about how he came in. And he didn't play dad, but he was a man to children, helping raise children that were not biologically his, because men do it every day and is very seldom talked about and is less seldomly recognized. We got 1 week to make this happen. I'm telling you what my game plan is. With that, I'm going to say thanks for tuning in. Before you go, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go to Facebook, Omit da Logic, phonetically, OMITdaLogic. Sign up, subscribe. You can subscribe to my channel without subscribing to YouTube. Sign up, ring the bell so that you will be notified when I put more content there. And more importantly, give me a thumbs up and share the show. Let's start to flood social media with some positive vibes. And I'm not saying that what I'm saying goes, but if you share what you like, something that resonates with you, and you piggyback that, or you paraphrase it and make it your own, speak to the people that speak your language, that speak your tongue. Each one reach one so each one could teach one. Do that for me. Do it for our children. And do it for the invisible men in your life who will so much appreciate it. And if you do that, I'll see you here next week, I promise. Same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. And I'm going to say this one more again every time, every week before I sign off. I say, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose. Because the one thing about this game called life, nobody leaves alive. And always important, I wish you love. I wish you peace, 2 fingers to the sky. And like your man, agrees. I'm out of here, folks. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week. I love you to death. And a damn thing you can do but love me back. Because it's so good. Loving somebody. And that somebody loves you back. And that's a fact. I'm out of here, folks. Y'all be good. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next week. And look at my page. You know what the deal is. This ain't nothing new. We ain't new to this. We true to this. Be true it. Uh, 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 uh. It's all the way live. It's all the way live. Yeah. So, YouTube, what's happening, people? Okay, let me see what y'all saying here. I always give y'all a couple 5 extra minutes. I know y'all have things to do. So, y'all see my camera trying to trying to be my automatic cameraman. I get this artificial intelligence cameraman over here, and I don't know what to do about it. I'm happy to know more great men than deadbeat, those who are present in their children's life and others by being coaches, mentors. Let me stop. I'm clowning. I totally agree. When my father was alive, I respected his ability to be present in his children's life. And you know what? When you have a good dad, just like a good mom, it makes it hard for you to have a mate because you have an example of what you think that person should be. And I always say that most daddy girls, daddy's girls, make not only the best lovers, but they make the best partners because they have an idea of what it's like to see a man at his best, to see a man at his worst, and how a man overcomes adversity on a day-to-day basis. And it is what it is. So good loving somebody, and that somebody loves you back. People, y'all behave yourself. Thank you for tuning in. I agree. I agree. I know the men I call friends as fathers. Angela, what you need to know is I was talking about you, so I know your ears are burning. Um, from the time I met you, you've just been a super amazing person. When I tried to bring you behind up, you had no clothes on, and I wasn't doing that. But what's funny, every person on here that I see right now is female, and every one of you have something special that you bring. Cynthia is probably the newest friend of all of these folks here, but Cynthia puts up with my crazy behind. Behind the scenes, Cynthia helps me with my show. She helps me with the website and so forth and so on. So we got to go back and we got to revisit it. Blah 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 blah. Um, Janice, of all these people, I've known Janice the longest. Janice, like my sister, and Janice knows too many things about me that I have to be nice with her ass, but she might tell y'all where the bodies are buried. Tish, Tish is, she got a heart this big, but she crazy as all I do. Love her to death, love her to death, love her to death. And I don't know, me and Angela, we just hit it off from day one. And she started calling me Brain, and she's been my pinky ever since. And I was talking about you. Yeah, I know your daddy's girl. I know your daddy's girl. I know your daddy's girl. I'm gonna have to get at you. We're gonna have to talk. So, ladies, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sticking around. Um, I'm gonna take some of the comments that you guys made and I'm gonna incorporate it. B, I invite you to go to my page and just kind of mirror some of the things that you said. Some of the women, I don't know. It just bewilders me why it's so easy to show out on a negative, but people are so apprehensive about showing up and showing out when it comes to doing something positive. It is what it is. As always, to the sky. If we have peace to the sky, it'll rain down on us like melodies. And I tell y'all, I ain't really tipsy no, but this bourbon tastes good. I ain't lying. Dancing partner, cause you ain't ready. Don't make me rerun up in here. Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I remember y'all had my behind on the floor. Meet and greet 2012. They had me on the floor. Oh my God. I was passed around like I was a big bag of M&M, you know. I tried to get off the floor and somebody else said, "Oh, come on, you can dance. Come on." Like, damn, I'm tired. I'm old now. I got out there and like I was on Soul Train and I almost did a split, but I was afraid if I did it, I either split my pants or I wouldn't be able to get back up. Neither of those were viable possibilities. So I had to keep it on up and up. And I just, and outside the night, the moon. Yeah, I just gave y'all a little of my dance arsenal though. So you need to know that, Angela. I got some skills. I really got some dancing skills. Yeah, yeah, right. For real, for real. For real. We gotta get together. We gotta when I come back to Atlanta, we're gonna have to get together. I'm gonna have to get some people together and see if we can just make some things happen. You the chair dancing king? Oh, you that sister. Brother see you moving in the chair and he walk up, he said, "Come on, let's dance." You said, "No, that's okay." And you're behind still dancing in the chair. You like, behind anyway. I had a sister like that, and I talked to her. I convinced her to getting on the floor. She kept saying, I can't dance, I can't dance. I'm like, girl, you black. All black people got rhythm. She said, I can't dance. I said, come on, wait, just do what I do. She got on the floor. I was like, damn, she can't dance. I had to turn my back because she was messing up my rhythm. I was like, she looked black. So if you're a chair dancer, hey, look, I'll sit in the chair next to you and we'll get down with the rest of them. Hi. Uh, 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 uh. You know, I ain't got no sense. I ain't got a nickel worth of sense. Ladies, y'all have a good one. Tish, Janice, Angela, Cynthia Marie, Tish. I say Tish name 2 times. They'll tell you how much you get up on that. Nah. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Good night, ladies. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. I'm out of here. Y'all be good. I don't know. I might edit this out, but I'll probably leave it in. Y'all notice I've been leaving most of this junk in my show, right? Yeah. I figure if I did